He always had a smile on his face. He was always up. He was always laughing. He loved people. He loved meeting new people. He loved having a good time.
His humor was really what kept me going. On days where I was being screamed at, he was able to interject into my feeling of heaviness, and it was a dry wit.
He was rooted in having a meaning and a purpose in his life. When you talk to Brad, it was about you, what was happening in your life, and was there anything he could do to make it better?
He just was a genuine, joyful person and a joy to be around and to be a friend with. But if you didn't like Brad, there's something wrong with you.
As I got to know him as an attorney, he became such a good friend. There was really no difference between what he was as my attorney and what he was as my friend, because he was who he was. He was genuine.
He heard in the coffee room one day a young lawyer saying that her apartment was very stuffy and hot over the weekend. It was in the middle of a hot summer. Unbeknownst to anybody, we found out about this about years later. Brad bought a portable air conditioning unit and dropped it off at that lawyer's home after work that day. He never published to anybody that he did it. He did it because it would make a difference in her life. And that's kind of the undercurrent of his entire personality.
He was serious about his work, but he didn't take himself too seriously, very personable. He dealt in a complex area of the law. He worked with oftentimes very difficult personalities, and yet managed to stay above that fray, managed to be professional, not get flustered, because this profession can fluster you. It's very stressful.
The first thing that struck me about him was this man has done his homework. He is a true professional. I recognize that his civility, if you will, wasn't just a mask that he put on that morning. It truly was in him the regard and the respect that he had for everyone that was involved in the case.
Just a guy who was very focused on living in the present. And it seemed like, although he never said it, it seemed like he wanted to make sure that he got as much out of every day as he could. And what made him happy was being involved and making a difference.
Brad was one of those people that it's almost a cliche to say, oh, someone was selfless, but it's really true in Brad's case. He did care about the underdog. He was extremely active in LGBTQ organizations. He was extremely strong proponent of marriage equality.
Deeply caring person, very free with his time to other people. It speaks volumes given the number of activities he had. I mean, he was the type of guy who was involved in his church heavily. He was involved in charitable organizations. You talk to Brad Monday morning and ask him, how was your weekend? And he would give you 5 minutes of a very active life, causes and people. You never heard him say, I sat around and watched TV all weekend. He was always moving. He was always involved, and it usually was focused on somebody other than himself.
Brad was so active in the Alpha Project, which is a homeless organization. He was extremely active in educating the bar, younger attorneys, newer attorneys that were getting into the probate litigation bar. He just cared. He cared about other people, about the less fortunate.
He was in a clinical trial, and all of us had the greatest of hopes that this would be the answer, but it wasn't to be. I said, Brad, I'm so sorry. And he said, no, Julie. What didn't work for me, researchers and scientists and doctors may find that it actually can work for someone else. And that was Brad. Generosity of spirit, thinking of others, positivity. He set an example.
If I think about the concept of legacy, the easiest thing for me to talk about would be here within our firm. We have 10 lawyers, whether you were a senior partner of the firm, whether you were a law clerk, whether you were a paralegal. Brad's legacy is that you mattered to him. He treated everybody exactly the same. He was open available to everybody.
There's so many people that didn't get to know Brad, that didn't get to work with Brad. And then there's so many of us that did have that good fortune that this Distinguished Lawyer Memorial will in some way kind of keep Brad alive for all of us.